Good morning. Welcome to the Asian Dating Podcast. Today I have with us Tammy Shaklee, LGBTQ relationship expert. Tammy is the founder of H4M Matchmaking. Tammy is a leading LGBTQ relationship expert and president of one of the country's top LGBTQ certified matchmaking companies. H4M Matchmaking. Since founding the national offline matchmaking company in Austin, Texas in 2012, Tammy and her team have successfully paired thousands of LGBTQ clients across the country that were seeking long-term committed relationships. Tammy, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you. It's good to see you. You look great. I enjoyed seeing you at our Matchmaker conference in November, and I'm doing great. It's been a great kickoff to a new year.
Yeah. I feel like all the matchmakers that I met in Cancun at our national meeting, they've been really generous with their time and happy to share dating tidbits with the audience and myself. And I love learning and just speaking to people as if we're just having coffee and just chit-chatting. And, with all the years of experience, yeah, it's golden just to hang out with you, Tammy. So thank you. So today, what should we talk about today that's going to be great for the audience?
I'll tell you what I'm being asked a lot about in interviews and whatever is post-pandemic. How are folks doing in dating in the real world, in real life again? Are you getting asked this question?
Yeah, it's so different than, 4 years ago, right? But people are single and people are still looking. So yeah, share with me what your thoughts are.
Well, I've heard a lot of feedback. After we introduce two singles, we do a live feedback call the next day after the date. How did it go? And I noticed what I felt like was maybe a little bit of a trend of folks haven't been just sitting and having coffee. And they went a year and a half without that, and then two, and then beyond that, to where they really need to freshen their conversation skills. Instead of it being like a checklist, like your online dating, you are sitting in front of this person. What did you do this weekend? What do you got planned next weekend? Do you have a vacation coming up? Just conversation. And so we've really been coaching our clients. Remember, this is just you being you, sharing your personality, and not checking off the clipboard of lists like you're filling out a profile. And so that's what we've been coaching our folks to do. What about you?
Gosh, I've just been coaching my clients to just be in the moment and ask good questions. I feel like dates are coming back saying, yes, I really liked her, but I don't think she liked me because she didn't ask me any questions. I don't know why, but somehow people have lost their way about being interested in other people. They just expect them to be on the date and for questions to be shot out to them, maybe, and they don't know how to engage. Maybe it has a little bit to do with the pandemic, the last 3 years, where we didn't need to really engage. But I just find that people aren't asking questions and not letting their date know that, hey, I liked you. I would like to see you again. So people aren't getting
Right.
those messages right now.
I agree with you. I think out of all my singles, coast to coast in the US, my introverts were thriving. Like, oh, I don't have to go to the party I don't want to go to. I don't have to buy a gift, and I don't want to go to that barbecue. So they became so happy as introverts, they weren't being encouraged to engage. Whereas my extroverts were so excited to be in a real life date, they just want to over talk. Like, oh, yes, we're back out here again. And so there became a little bit of an imbalance. But one of my clients put it best. He said, I'm looking for someone who's interesting and interested in me. And I thought, wow, that boils it down. On a date, it needs to be equitable in getting what's interesting about them, but sharing what's interesting about you. If they talk about their pet and you don't have one, well, you probably had one as a child. There's still a story there, so it doesn't have to be, nope, don't have a dog, nothing to talk about. well, maybe you've never had a dog, you know what? And so I think there's so many opportunities to engage in dialogue instead of, like, nope, that's not compatible. I wasn't a dog person when I met my husband. And you remember I met my husband through a matchmaker, and I'm a dog person today.
Oh, I'm definitely was never a cat person, and until I met my husband, and we have 3 cats now. I mean, do I care for them? Of course I do, but I mean, you just don't know, like, that's the thing, it's like when you go out on dates, people just need to be open-minded. You just don't know where life is going to take you today versus 15 years from today, right? Like, how do we get people to be more open-minded and to not live in this bubble that they've been in all these years?
I'll tell you, a lot of our LGBTQ singles, for whatever reason, here's another thing I've noticed in 10 years in this niche, is an inordinate amount of LGBTQ college students did study abroad. And so now I talk about it. I directly ask in the interview, so have you done study abroad? And they were like, how did you know that? And I said, because my observation as a straight ally is you were curious about the world. And are there other areas than what you were raised in that may be more gay friendly to live an authentic life? And so you explored Europe, or you taught English in whatever country or whatever. And so there's a worldliness about those folks that have done study abroad. So I'll use this example. I didn't, I'm a farm girl from Oklahoma. So I thought country western dancing was one of the requirements I needed in a future husband. My husband can't dance. He can surf. Well, I'd never been anyplace surfing. So instead of being closed-minded about, well, he doesn't country and western dance, I was like, surfing, what's that like? And so to open and broaden your mind, that you may learn something from this future partner you never even have been exposed to, right?
So maybe that could be a challenge I have for the listeners out there is next time you're swiping left or swiping right or getting an introduction from a matchmaker, if this person has maybe 3 activities that you normally don't do, not comfortable doing, or have never explored, you should say yes. Just go out on this date and meet him or her because they have 3 things that you've never done before. Like, I know you're big into paddleboard or not paddleboarding, pickleball,
Yeah.
right? What if your match loves pickleball? What if your match likes paddleboarding? What if your match is a marathon runner? You know what? Just go out with them. Who cares that you don't like to run? Who cares that you don't really are comfortable in water? Who cares if you've never picked up a racket before to even play tennis? Like, just go for it. What do you have to lose? You've been dating 10, 20, 30 years on your own. Why not just go out there and meet this person?
Right. One of my singles I interviewed recently, she plays golf every day in her retirement, very successful corporate exec. And so she wants to meet a golfer. And I said, well, you probably would have already met her on the golf course if you're there every single day. Why not meet someone who plays pickleball? And then you end up alternating, the golf course and pickleball or whatever it is. The other thing too is I think your first date will be more interesting if you, like my husband, they said he surfs, he sails, and he was training to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And I thought, wow, I can barely swim. I don't like the cold. On paper, I probably would not have chosen, but boy, this is going to be an interesting date because I have a lot to ask about, right? And so I think you have a more interesting first date with a lot of variety of topics. When he hired that matchmaker, my husband said, she doesn't need to serve. I'll teach her that. I just want to meet a good person that likes adventure. And so, instead of restricting what we're seeking, open your parameters, and you may become the most multifaceted, interesting person by doing that.
I agree. I agree. Like, it almost makes me think, should I just eliminate the hobbies and interest box? Like, who cares? If you're adventurous and you're open-minded and you want to meet someone amazing, then maybe those things are more important than hobbies and interests. I hate when someone says they have to hike and they can't just hike 3 miles and call that a hike. They have to be really into hiking, like go 7 to 10 miles. It's like, you know what? I was never a hiker until I moved to Colorado. I didn't even know I loved to hike. I didn't even know I love the outdoors. So the fact that you put these parameters on your search, it almost hinders you. So it's like little things like that that just bug me sometimes when clients have to have somebody that hikes, you know? So what are some other things that you've noticed where your clients are asking for and you're like, oh, that's actually not that important?
It's not that important. I have a marathon runner that I'm so impressed by any kind of marathon, any competitor, right? And when we were talking about his past relationship, he said, in my search with you, he said, now I'm seeking a partner who would meet me at the finish line. And I said, what? And he said, my past partner in all of my races would say, see you when you get back home. And he said, so I wasn't seeking a partner that was a marathon runner, but it sure would be nice to feel the love at the finish line. And I was like, oh, that's it. That's it. A partnership does not mean that you have to mirror each other in everything. It could be that celebratory champagne toast at the end of the race. And isn't that what we all want? Someone to support us in our endeavors of whatever we're passionate about today. Maybe it'll change in 10 years. But for them to be supportive, that's what we're looking for.
Right, right. I agree. I agree. So what else are you finding out there pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic that you feel like singles, gay or straight, are looking for?
There was a lot, that's such a good question. There was a lot written. Well, people had more time to read and to research about their search for a partner. So there became this word intention, like I am dating with intention this year. I have defined my intention. I'm going to have a partner by Thanksgiving or whatever it is. And I felt like their focus and all these articles that they were reading about intention turned into intensity. And so they would go on the date and say, because they had too much time to research, they would say, I want a child in the next 3 to 5 years. Do you? Like, yes or no? I was like, whoa, you were asking this on a first date? If any of my matches, when I had hired my matchmaker, had gone that deep on a first date, I would have said, dude, like you are at the finish line. A first date is supposed to be the starting gates. How'd you get down there? Like, right? So I've tried to coach them that it takes 4 good dates to decide if this person could be in your future. And so if you have 4 dates, let's move that topic to the 4th date and let's back up. And what would we want to talk about? Lighthearted on the first, a little deeper on the second, third, fourth. Does that make sense?
Yes. But 4th date, you're talking about what? That's already like 8 hours into them getting to know each other. But don't you think they should know maybe sooner what their long-term goals are? Like, for example, if they want kids, when they want kids. Do you think 2nd date
I
is
did.
good? Or, okay, so you think 3rd date's
I
even too?
did a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I did a lot of dates. So I'm very open about my experience. I'm so blessed as a straight ally to own a niche company of LGBTQ singles. And that's all I match, right? And so I would I coached the singles over the years. Listen, I was my husband's 3rd match, but that's rare. He was my 30th match. So I really do test, try, and tell you my experience that when you start liking someone, I can see us getting a dog. I wouldn't have said that on the first date. When you start liking someone, I'd be open to talking about a family, maybe. I didn't want kids on my own by myself, but I'll give you another example. So that's the positives. Here's the other example. I was divorced, no kids. He was divorced, no kids. I didn't want to talk about my ex. But if it led to a fourth date, I thought, maybe this guy's in my future. So here's my divorce story. Now, can we not talk about it again? But why reveal all that information on the first date? So to me, the fourth date was my measurement to truly be vulnerable.
Is that what you coach your clients as well? That, hey, if you make it to the fourth date, if and when, then it's okay to reveal more of the layers of your previous relationships and your past.
I do coach them that if it's going to go beyond the fourth date, then let's just lay it all out there, and really be vulnerable and be honest. The good, the bad, but ideally, so I'll give you an example. One of my matches was an Asian American out of my matches, and he had, is it called alopecia? Where you don't grow hair. But he was a very handsome man. And I dated all ethnicities, and I was really kind of enjoying him. So we had 3 dates. And for the fourth date, he said, let's just meet at Whole Foods for lunch. And I thought, oh, well, that's not very romantic, but okay, I get to see you in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day. After the lunch, he walked me to my car, and I thought, oh, maybe this is going to be like big kiss goodbye. And he so politely said, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I've enjoyed our time together. I really don't see this becoming romantic. I stung, for just a nanosecond. I was like, ouch. And then I thought how respectful he was to give this 4 dates a try with me, him, and then to respectfully say, I don't see this becoming romantic. Because I drove back to the office thinking, what a respectable guy. And he didn't ghost me. He was honest. Nothing but a kind word. He wished me the best. I wished him the best. And I hope he found his match. We each gave it 4 tries. And now we search for the right compatible one. Right.
Isn't that so refreshing that someone's just honest and say, you know what? I don't think we're a good match. I feel more of a friend's vibe. I wish you the best. At least they just tell you that I really gave it a shot, and I can look myself in the mirror and know that that's how I feel. And I'm being honest with you. And it's not like you're going to go back after the fourth date wondering when he's going to call, when he's going to text, when he's going to ask you out again. And then he doesn't do any of that. And then you get mad at him. And then it ends up being a bad experience, right? But instead, you're like, what a great experience with him. How respectful, what a gentleman. And that makes you hopefully act the same way toward future partners when you had a breakup with them. Like, man, people just really needed to hear this. And hopefully they're not ghosting people. Because when I was in my 20s, I was a horrible dater. Like, I would ignore phone calls and I would ghost them if I don't want to go out with them again. Like, shame on me. Like, what a bad dater and bad person, right? To do that.
Well, and it's a skill that we learn. So I coach my clients as well. So we manage the first 2 dates. Not everybody does that. We pick the restaurant, make the reservation for the first date. You give a live feedback call the next day. If both want a second date, we coordinate that. At the second date feedback call, I say, okay, I'd like for you to have your third and fourth date on your own. So people will often say to me, well, easy for you. You met your husband. I said, but hold on. He was not my best first date. It was a good, solid first date, but it wasn't, there were fireworks. It's not some rom-com Disney movie, whatever. It was a good, solid date. I'm glad I gave him a second date, because on the second date, he was talking surfing stories, double overhead, a long laugh, telling, like, it was so fascinating. And I thought, thank God we went on a second date, because he's kind of nerdy. He's not a good first date. And so I think people need to give every introduction 2 dates to see if more of their personality opens on the second.
Right. And speaking of, you said your husband's kind of nerdy, like, I find nerdy guys or smart guys really more attractive than a guy who's, Joe Cool and confident. And I mean, the smart guys are it. The nerdy guys, I mean, they're the ones who, yes, have tons of potential to make lots of money down the road for you too, to have a good, financially stable relationship. But at the same time, being smart is very, very attractive. I wish more women would give smart guys a chance and not just look at someone's photos and judge that way. Like, do you come across some very superficial or judgmental singles based on just photos?
Oh, sure. They get addicted to the dopamine rush of online dating, right? Well, he's good looking, he's good looking. And then sometimes they'll email me, look at the guys I'm chatting with online. And I said, wow, where did you find that lumberjack who also is a firefighter, who also loves dogs? Like, really? Is he real? So, how many do you think he's chatting with?
Right.
You think he's only chatting with you? I don't think so. Here's what I like about the nerdy guys, the smart guys, and I am what is called sapiosexual. I'm drawn to really intelligent men. If they can talk physics in front of me, oh, I just melt. And my husband is a mathematician mind. But when then they can talk surfing, that's cool, right? So you're kind of looking for, as one girlfriend puts it, a Dudley Do-Right with an edge. Well, she married an engineer by day who plays a trumpet in a jazz band on the weekends. So by day, he is that nerd. But Saturday night, she has a t-shirt that she wears, I'm with the band, So for each of us to see in other singles, here they are by day, but this is how fun they are on the weekends. So don't pass the nerdy guy, because usually the nerdy guy does not have game. He's not going to cheat on you. He's not a player. He doesn't have little girlfriends on the side. He's a good, sustainable relationship that you can trust.
I agree. I mean, if you're looking to have a family, have a loyal partner that you want to go long term with and forever, like your forever partner, like you need to really find someone who has great characteristics, good values, same key life values, and things like that, and not just be so stuck on the height, the looks. I mean, really, seriously. Yeah.
Truly. And two, I always coach on the first date. Do you simply enjoy their company? I mean, that's all a first date is. Be present, talk about what's going on this week, or in your, in your work, or in your life, or with your pets, or what your hobbies, or whatever. And then did you walk away? Did you find them kind of interesting? And did you enjoy their company? If they were coughing and checking out other people and rude to the waiter, you probably did not enjoy their company. So no need for a second date. But if you just enjoyed your time sitting there, why not have a second date and a third and a fourth?
Yeah, I tell my people that I match up, my clients and the women, that if you don't see any blatant red flags or they didn't do something that totally turned you off, if you were just neutral or positive about the experience, then go out on a second date and make a point of saying yes on the second date and putting in the effort. For example, when you're done on the date, when you arrive home, text them and thank them for the drinks or the coffee date or the dinner date. And thank you for driving out to my neck of the woods. Like, I think men really appreciate a woman showing that kind of gratitude, a simple gesture of thank you, which sometimes I think we just forget to acknowledge those little things, but the guys will know. Your date will know and appreciate that about you. And if you're not sure about if he'll ask you out again, then let him know that you had a great time and that you would love to do it again, even though he hasn't asked you out yet. Like, kind of let him know you will say yes if he asks you out on a second date. And then maybe he was on the fence about you, but the fact that he knew that you liked him, he'll be like, maybe I do want to ask Tammy out on a date again.
With the anniversary of my company, every year I do a list of aha moments. And so one of my aha moments a couple of years ago is, and think about all your interviews too. Is there one word that in your thousands of interviews that is consistently listed as a top characteristic of what they're seeking. My word, I noticed a couple of years in, is kind.
Oh my gosh, I said the same thing.
It's
Yes,
kind. It's
yes,
kind.
yeah. Just show that
It's
you're
kind.
kind. And that also comes from if you're out there making platonic relationships, if you're just looking for another girlfriend or a guy friend, just be kind. Yes, I'm so glad we said that at the same time, because that is one word that came up when I'm doing all of my interviews. But go ahead, I'll let you speak. I just cut you off.
That's so funny. You and I have never talked about this because so I type when I'm interviewing, I'll even capitalize it in all caps when they put that much emphasis on it. And I almost always have it all caps. I just want kind. Like there's so much not kind in the world right now, everywhere, doesn't matter where you are. You run across not kind every day, from the gas station to the grocery store to the dry cleaners. Kind is what anyone's seeking. So I love that you coach women to say thank you. I always did say thank you to my match. My girlfriend would argue with me, don't give him your email. And I said, he's putting himself out there just like I am. How are we not equal putting ourselves out there to try and meet our partner? I want to say thank you for the time that we spent getting to know each other, even if I didn't choose them for a second date, because it's kind. And who doesn't want a partner that has gratefulness in their heart? I mean, genuine gratefulness, genuine gratefulness. And any other words that pop up out of yours, see, all humans are the same. It doesn't matter if you're gay or straight.
Right. And just going back on the topic of being kind, let's say you're going about your day-to-day life. What are like 10 things that you can come up with that people do that are just kind and that they should be doing? I'm totally putting you on the spot here. We didn't talk about this prior to the call, but just list 10 things that you can think of that dates can show their kindness, or that dates can recognize kindness when their date does that kind of stuff.
I've learned from other friends. I became a better dater with all of my matches. As you can imagine, that was a lot of introductions. I learned this from a girlfriend, and I think it's so great. So you're both at this restaurant or coffee shop, whatever it is. The wait staff approaches you to ask their name. It's like, oh, we've never been here before. What is your name? Oh, Stephanie. Because she'll usually say, ideally they'll say, I'm Stephanie, I'm going to be your waitress today, but maybe they didn't. And so you say, what is your name? Because that way, if you need an extra fork or you need, a refill, you can call her by name or him by name. So I love that. Obviously, the eye contact, a gesture, like let's say the lady at the next table drops her napkin. And for your date to say, oh, pardon, you've dropped your napkin. Wow. I mean, that's just, it's more than being chivalrous. It's just a kind human. I think making eye contact, greeting someone to say thank you when you get up from the table. Did you get your cell phone? Or, just checking on each other as humans. Now, this is so old fashioned. I don't think people really do it anymore. But out of all my matches, my husband stood when I approached the table, like Cary Grant in the old movies. And I thought it was amazing. It was such a simple gesture. And I still love it today. We've been together 16 and a half years. When a man stands, when a lady is getting up from the table or approaches the table, it's so kind. Or to fold her napkin, or, just something so simple. It's simple manners, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I was counting as you were saying that, and you just said 8 things. Like, how easy is that to be a kind person and to do those simple things and say thank you for the date? And I like that where you say, ask the server for their name, or ask the server, how are they doing today? Like things that just show you're a thoughtful, nice person. And you can totally tell. People can see that you're genuinely a kind person because you just rattled off 8 things without thinking about it, right? It was easy for you. So if you're going out on a date with someone who is not kind, you can also recognize that right away, right? So
Absolutely.
what about the people out there that are not genuinely kind and don't really exude kind behavior? How would they learn how to be a nicer, kinder, more considerate person? Like, how would
I
you
have a
tell
tip.
somebody who's not a kind person to be a kind person?
I coach them to at least be more personable. You don't have to change who you are, but be personable. And this is how you can practice it. Every time you take an Uber, talk to them. Say, how long have you been an Uber driver? That's my first question anytime I've taken Uber or Lyft or all the other services. When I get in the car, I say, how long have you driven for Uber? Even though I need to be on my phone or texting the person I'm meeting or whatever, you can practice with this limited drive with this person you'll probably never see again. How long have you worked for the company? And you can ask your waitress too, how long, or waiter, how long have you worked here? Oh, then I bet you know the best order for lunch, or what's the most popular order for lunch. So I always say, practice with your Uber driver. It's safe. You're paying them to listen, right? And you're practicing dialogue and genuine kindness. And so let's say your Uber driver says, I just got laid off. Then you can say, oh man, what are you looking for? What type of job? Maybe I know someone. You just engage as a kind human, and then it carries through on a date, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree. I agree. Do you know how oftentimes we forget to make eye contact? Like I go into the bank now and the teller's not even looking at me. Like I could just be staring at them and they're not even making eye contact. So maybe they need to practice being kind and things like that. Like there's always room to be kind, right? Not only when you're on a date, but just day-to-day interactions. If you go to the grocery store, are you holding the door open for somebody? Are you asking someone for their opinion? Like just like you said, engaging in conversation. And if that's part of your life, then you will exude kindness everywhere. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree. Good tips, good tips. Before we part ways, Tammy, I want to ask you, I've been asking a couple other people this. Valentine's Day is coming up, right? So let's say you've been dating a person for a month, maybe 2 months. If you're the guy, what's a good Valentine's gift to get the person you're dating? Or do you get them a gift? What is acceptable and what is not in your mind?
I think it applies on other holidays too, but people love an experience together. So let's say you've always wanted to do that indoor skydiving
Mm.
thing, or the indoor kart races, or anything indoor where it's cold. Buy an experience for two people to go, then go make a memory and have fun and act silly about it. I always say too, an experience you'll keep talking about versus this gift that may be gone, or and a lot of people do like the flowers and chocolates, but to go on an experience and do something, rock climbing or something silly together, like happy Valentine's Day, here's our selfie, rock climbing. But I always tell folks to also avoid what all the couples are doing, that this is the only night out that they go, right? So go to a dive bar and play the jukebox, or go to the ping pong bar, or go play pool, or do poker night at home. You're teaching a lot of us how to play poker. So I always say, create an experience that you will have memories about, and remember to take pictures so that you next year say, what did we do last Valentine's Day? Oh, that's right. Remember, it should be an experience.
I love that. I love that. So what are some things you've been married for? You said how many years? 17
We're
years?
14. We've been
14.
together 16 and a half, married 14.
Okay. So you've been married 14 years and Valentine's Day is coming up. Do you get your husband something for Valentine's Day, or you believe Valentine's Day should just be usually the guy gets something for the girl?
That's a good question. He decided this idea when we first got married, because our birthdays, our wedding anniversary, and Valentine's are all packed within a couple of weeks. So he said, on Valentine's Day, let's avoid the crowd. I'll have a really nice, like, collector's bottle of wine, and I will do a gourmet dinner for you. I want you to just sit, enjoy the wine, while I'm cooking. He prints out a menu. He does research for weeks. He creates an amazing experience. I'm spoiled. But remember, he was the nerdy mathematician guy, right? And so he didn't want the pressure of the gift in this. This is what our Valentine's Day will look like. And it's extraordinary every year.
I love that. I love that. Well, Tammy, thank you so much for your time spending with me today. Before we log off, will you tell people how to find you? And I will include in the show notes and all that. But just if you can, in your own words, talk about what you do and what your expertise is.
Right. So I only match LGBTQ singles. Youngest client's 23. Oldest client, I think right now is 82, coast to coast in the US. And so my name, Tammy Shaklee, is one way to find me. I'm very transparent as a straight ally. So if you find me on any social media, you can come through and find my company. Or the company is h4m.com, the number 4m.com. Come through, let's have a conversation. Even if you're not sure, just talking to a matchmaker, I think can be life-changing. And we can always coach you if maybe you're not ready for matchmaking. But I'd love to help any LGBTQ single out there.
Thank you, Tammy, for your time. And for ladies out there, if you're open to being matched up and being in my database, find me at 2asianmatchmakers.com, fill out a profile. I would love for you to be part of my Rolodex of great women to meet my male paying clients. And if there are any men out there who's looking for a lovely Asian woman, I would love to meet you and hear about who you're looking for. So thank you very much, Tammy, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.